The following podcast is a presentation of This Is Infamous. Listener discretion is advised.
What's going on, ladies and gents? Thank you for tuning in once again to a brand new episode of Intelligent Wrestling Conversation. I am your host, as always, Billy Donnelly, here at the IWC podcast. And wow, do we have a crazy discussion to have on this week's episode. WWE Money in the Bank in the books, and goes down in historic and controversial fashion. Now, this isn't the good type of controversy. And granted, look, all controversy gets people talking, and what businesses want is people talking about their product. But when the controversy creates such discussion, such dialogue, of such immense negative connotation, that cannot be good. And this isn't about swerves or twists or turns. This is about the tone deafness of a company dealing with its current cultural and societal relevance. We are at a point right now where people are standing up, speaking out, and bringing truth to power when it comes to things that at one point may have been the norm, at one point may have been acceptable, but now, not that they were always okay, but sort of we were complacent in how we dealt with them. Now, we are in a place where when we see wrongs, when we see injustice, when we see inequality, when we see sort of sameness, people rise up, they speak out, and they try to affect change. And here, this month, at the WWE Money in the Bank pay-per-view, we had the first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match. 5 women in the match, briefcase suspended above the ring. First women to ascend the ladder, pull down the briefcase, would earn themselves a future SmackDown Women's Championship title match at any point in time of their choosing. Much the same as the men's Money in the Bank winner would do. We've had countless Money in the Bank matches over the years. We've had countless men's individual winners. This was the first time that women were being put on the same level as men in terms of Money in the Bank ladder matches, and it did not go down the way people would have liked it to have gone down. And this doesn't mean, oh, my person didn't win, so now I'm outraged. This has nothing to do with this. It has to do with creative ideas, it has to do with execution, and it has to do with the underlying themes and context that the execution puts on display, not only for fans in general, but in particular a certain demographic of the WWE Universe, and that is their female fan base. So 5 women come into this match: Becky Lynch, Charlotte, Carmella, Natalya, and Tamina. And one of them was bound to make history by being the first winner of the female Money in the Bank match. And do you think that went off with a hitch? If it did, I wouldn't be so bothered right now. Now look, I could have done what we normally do. And look, we had planned to bring on somebody and fully go into analysis of the Money in the Bank pay-per-view as a whole. And once this went down, we'd call an audible and do something different. So look, Tom Nix going to join me later in the show. We're going to talk about ladder matches in New Japan Pro Wrestling, so that's on tap for later. Originally, my guest was supposed to be somebody else, and you know what? I'm not going to tell you who it was because we're going to save them for another show, and they're going to come on and we'll talk about something else at another point in time. But I would have been remiss in my duties as the host of this show to bring on sort of just another dude to talk about the aftermath and sort of the ins and outs of the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, particularly the controversial women's Money in the Bank match. Because, look, dudes make up the majority of the voice of wrestling fans and people who do wrestling podcasts. They just do. It is what it is. There should be more diversity in the voices talking about wrestling, but the way it's laid out, it's tons of dudes. Dudes will always make up a majority of wrestling fans. But I thought it would be important. I thought it would be more impactful. I thought it would be more beneficial for the dialogue and conversation about this match and the decisions made about this match to have a woman weigh in on the subject. And so I went out. I found a prominent, distinguished, qualified female wrestling voice to come here to Intelligent Wrestling Conversation and talk about the women's Money in the Bank match. You can follow her on Twitter at BJ Colangelo. You can keep an eye out for the wrestling-centric feature film she is making right now called Powerbomb the Movie. I am very grateful for her carving out some time to join us here on this particular podcast. So without further ado, here she is to talk about women's Money in the Bank, BJ Colangelo.
Thank you for having me. I am so excited to talk about Money in the Bank because I have a whole lot of feelings.
I'm sure you do, and so do I. And I think you would agree with me that if I just got another dude on this show, it kind of would have contributed to the very same problem that the WWE seems to have on their hands with the pay-per-view.
You're absolutely right. And I mean, I've been reading all of the conversations on social media, and then there's all of the different forums that want to talk about this, and everyone keeps forgetting the fact that this was a historic first match. I completely understand the idea that, well, women have helped men win Money in the Bank before. They've helped, like, as valets and this, that, and the other. That's just the same thing. Isn't that equality? And while in some instances I would say, yeah, maybe if this was the 5th or the 6th women's Money in the Bank match, but on the very first one, there's never been a female to win Money in the Bank before, and there still isn't. That's bothersome to me, that they would take this historic opportunity and turn in, like, what is considered to be one of the more prominent pay-per-views, one of the more prominent titles that somebody can have, into the definition of a gimmick match. I just think that it's so disrespectful, and it's a huge step backwards from this supposed women's revolution they've been giving us. And I just, I'm trying so hard to understand the thought process they had with this.
Well, let me ask you this first, okay? Because this has been, I mean, look, women's wrestling in a short time has come farther than it's been in a while. So I'll give credit on that degree, because it's not bra and panties matches, it's not pillow matches, it's not Playboy bunny fights anymore. We're actually getting to see women wrestle. So in that direction, yes, progress has been made. And over the last year, 18 months or so, we have seen a lot of women's firsts in the WWE Universe. We've seen Hell in a Cell matches. We've seen Iron Man matches. We've seen tables matches. We've seen things that they haven't let women do before in their perception of what wrestling is and how fans will accept it. So going into this with sort of all that groundwork laid, going into this pay-per-view, before we really get in sort of the meat and potatoes of the controversial women's match, what was your feelings about the idea of having a first ever historic women's Money in the Bank match?
I thought it was great. I mean, it's the perfect thing because whereas I'll be the person that'll say, anything men can do, women can do, which is why, we got to see kendo stick matches and tables matches and all of these, what are considered to be very physically dangerous matches for the women to perform. If they're already going to do that, then why not have them do a Money in the Bank ladder match? Like, there's no more danger in climbing a ladder, possibly taking a pretty, far drop than the fact that you have Charlotte, doing moonsaults off the top rope off of, onto one person, onto 5 people. They've all clearly proven that they can handle that physically. So there's no reason why they shouldn't have had one already. They've done far more dangerous things with, the Hell in the Cell match. With Iron Woman matches, those are way more dangerous than I would say a ladder match. So I was so excited. I was like, well, yeah, this makes sense. But for me, I wanted to see the look on the face of the person who knew they're making history, whether it would be, a Charlotte Flair, somebody who has a legacy that would have carried on, or somebody like Becky Lynch, who has worked tooth and nail to get to where she is, win the Money in the Bank. And instead they gave it to somebody who, let's be honest, is a joke. Like, James Ellsworth isn't even a valet in the sense that, like, when Lana's with Rusev, like, she's still a bona fide badass. Like, she's still exciting. She's fun. She's dangerous. She's, fun to watch. James Ellsworth is an obnoxious, afterthought for most fans. And I get it. That's kind of his point. I understand heel heat. I get how all of this works. But it just felt like such a slap in the face to not only the women that are there that were competing, but also to all of the women who are watching at home saying, finally, they're taking women seriously. And then you have James Ellsworth in that goddamn hideous money oversized outfit climbing the ladder and taking it down. And, like, sure, does that mean Carmella wins? Yeah, I'm excited for Carmella, but she doesn't need him. She doesn't need someone to help her like that. And as much as I want to say, oh, yeah, I get it, that's equality because women have helped, men win, not the first. Don't do it the first time. And, yeah, for story-wise, for the heat that it's going to get for Carmella, for what it's going to do for that, storyline going forward, I understand that. I get how all of that works. It's not a matter of not understanding the business. It's a matter of them having a historic moment and turning it into a joke. And that's what I take issue with. Like, that storyline, like, you could have done anything with it. You could have had him win that, and then, Shane comes out of nowhere and is like, we're not doing this, which is what I hope happens tomorrow. I don't think it will, but I wish that it would, where they're like, no, we're not going to do this. This is not what I wanted. We're going to restart this because that's not, you're not a woman. You can't do this. But I don't think it's going to happen. And, like, that's a real bummer to me, is that they had the opportunity to have another historic moment and it's a joke.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching this sort of unfold on social media, and in having you on here, really, I think the Money in the Bank match or the pay-per-view itself really comes down to 2 matches, because in watching this match and sort of watching the reaction to how it ended, it seemed like between the Money in the Bank matches, the entire rest of the card is a blur, because everything else just had the cloud of the women's Money in the Bank match hanging over it. And you know, and watching it as a fan of women's wrestling, as someone who's sort of seen a lot of these women sort of grow through the WWE system, through developmental, and now have their spotlight on the main stage. I cannot agree more with you or anyone else that this just felt like such a tarnished moment. Because, you know, like you said, this is the first time this has ever happened. And for the company to push so hard that, you know, we're breaking the glass ceiling and we're letting women do all these things. And look, women empowerment and the women's revolution and so on and so forth. And then to do something that they have never done before in a ladder match. Like, there's been countless ladder matches. There's been countless Money in the Bank matches throughout the course of WWE history. And never once has anyone interfered on this level to sort of gift the briefcase over to somebody to be the winner? And I think, I mean, you know, and this is where it's important for me to sort of to add the female perspective to this, because as a guy, I can look at this and I can be pissed and it could bother me, but I know that it's really got to just hit these awful spots for women wrestling fans and even non-fans who just sort of hear about this in passing and go, yep, that figures and it's terrible. But I know that.
And what's frustrating is that there was a way to do it. Like,
yes.
You want to have Ellsworth interfere and have Carmella win, then you have him bum rush the stage, push over a ladder, someone falls off, and then Carmella puts it back up and climbs up herself. That's the way to have done it. But by having him be the one who physically climbed the ladder and physically took down the Money in the Bank, like the actual briefcase, that's what tarnished it. And, like, I'd be lying if I said I didn't. I immediately checked out. Like, once that happened, I was like, I'm done. Like, that's it. I have nothing more to do to pay attention to this match. Like, everything that I wanted, that, like, the first time I ever saw Charlotte and Becky and Sasha and Bayley do the 4 horsewomen thing, I openly wept. When they did the ceremony, when they traded the Divas belt to the women's belt, I cried, because people don't realize how important that representation is. It's so vital, because women wrestling fans, you know, as children, we would watch this and love the sport and love the entertainment. And then we'd have to see the women, you know, do the bra and panties matches. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with being, like, in control sexually or doing that. But when that's what you're token and when that's what you're only allowed to do, that's what sucks. And, like, right now they have a really nice balance. There's, like, crazy athletic women like Asuka who, you know, are just terrifying. And then you have the ones that are crazy, crazy, crazy beautiful, like Lana. And then you have somebody who's a combination of both, like Charlotte. And that's exactly how it's supposed to be. You need to have kind of that cross palette where you get a little bit of everything. But they just took that historic moment. Like, there are so many little girls now that are into wrestling because of people like Bayley, because of people like Becky, and they're watching it, and this is what they're growing up. This is what they aspire to be. And the message that was just sent to all of them was, you can't do this by yourself. You need to have a man to help you. And one of the commentators even made a comment about it that was like, you need a man to do a woman's job or something. And he was trying to be funny. And it's like, no, that is like that is the exact problem that you've been trying so hard to combat. And you just took a giant leap backwards. Like, I can't even take Carmella's win seriously, because I look at it, I'm like, you didn't earn that. And that's a bummer, because I love Carmella, and I thought it would have been an awesome heel move if he would have knocked someone off of the ladder and she would have climbed up. That would have been perfect. I would have been sold. That would have been hilarious, and it would have worked. But instead, it just feels so tarnished to me, and every time she goes to cash in, I'm like, I don't even think she's going to cash in. I think James Ellsworth is going to be the one that's going to cash that in now, and it's going to be this big mess, and, you know, maybe that'll be what finally breaks them up. Fine, whatever. But if that's the whole point, if the whole point is to further a storyline for James Ellsworth, and they're using the women's Money in the Bank title as a way to do that, then you've already lost, because now you're using women to push the narrative for a male character who's not even a wrestler. He was a joke. He was an internet joke that they signed because they thought it would be profitable. And like that's what's even more infuriating, is that this isn't an instance where it's Rusev knocking somebody off of a ladder so Lana can win, who's somebody that everyone can get behind and trust and go, all right, yeah, that makes sense. It's James Ellsworth. And that is even more insulting. If you're going to have a guy steal the thunder from women, make it an actual wrestler.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you because, I totally get the heel heat idea behind this, okay? The execution is really the sore spot because, as you said, there are a million ways this could have been done, and they settled creatively on the one worst way to possibly pull it off. Because I had conversations before the match with people, and sort of the idea was like, Charlotte's somehow going to kill herself in this match because that's just what she does. Like she is willing to rise to the occasion, and in these sort of matches, especially with her acrobatic background, and the idea of James Ellsworth getting demolished in this match was right there. So the idea that James Ellsworth was somehow going to get demolished and sort of take people out of the match for Carmella to potentially win, look, I understand it. I get it. But yeah, it's the idea of him climbing the ladder and being the one who retrieves the briefcase in a match that was historically meant for women. That's problematic. And to me, the tone deafness is what's truly astounding. Because if I can compare this to one thing, it's sort of Disney. Like Disney, who has, a long legacy of princesses and whatnot, over time sort of, especially with modern audiences who are able to sort of retrospectively look back at some of their things, they see, of course, that idea that there has to be a prince who comes in and sort of rescues the princess. And over the past few years, what Disney has managed to do is sort of subvert that and allow the princesses or the female characters to have agency in their own future and move away from reliance upon princes. And as a result, I know lots of women who watch those movies who feel much more empowered than they once were. And it sends a positive message to people, to young girls who are growing up watching those movies, that, take the power in your own hands. You don't need a man to just do everything for you. So, you sort of bring up the idea of it being insulting. What did you think of the idea of Daniel Bryan tweeting, Shane McMahon tweeting all about how disgraceful and horrible this whole thing was, and then still nothing being done about it? Like, they're going to handle it on SmackDown. They want us to watch then. But what about now? Well, we're all watching it. Did you find that also problematic? The fact that they were calling attention to how horrible this moment was, but still then letting it just sit there for all of us to be bothered by it?
Absolutely. I think what got me the most is that I know what they're doing. They want to get us to watch SmackDown because rating wise, it doesn't do as well as Raw. So they're trying to do this big, thing that's going to cause a huge stink, and then everyone's going to want to watch SmackDown to watch it. What I think is going to happen is I think it's going to backfire, because I don't think they realized just how upset people were by this. Because, I made the mention about how they're, using the women's Money in the Bank, like that title and that, like, the pristine of that to push a story for James Ellsworth. Well, now not only are they doing that, but they're also doing it essentially to push their ratings, to try to be like, hey, we pissed you off. Now let's see if we can make it better. And we're going to make it better on Tuesday. But you have to wait until Tuesday for it to be better. And while, yeah, I get it. That's how it works. That's how you make money. Again, not for the first. If this would have been Money in the Bank for women, 3 or 4, whatever, fine. Not for the first. Because when you do that, like, you're setting a standard. And now the standard that has been set for the women's Money in the Bank matches is that the number 1 is James Ellsworth. You look back in your history books, there's an asterisk next to Carmella's name. And that is unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. Quite frankly, it is unforgivable. And the fact that they're going to tweet about it and say like, oh, this is an outrage, this is terrible, and nothing happening. It's like this is the moment in A Christmas Story when you find out that Little Orphan Annie's message is a commercial. Like, you just reeled us in this whole time, and it's all just for us to watch on Tuesday. Like, you promised a historic event.
Goddamn Ovaltine.
Exactly. They promised this amazing historic event for female fans, and to be quite honest, yeah, we deserve it. We've been having to deal with things that are so offensive for so long, and it happened so recently. Like this past WrestleMania, we had Goldberg and Brock. Do you know what happened the last time those two were in WrestleMania together? The Playboy gown turned lingerie match. That's what happened. That's how close we are. Like, people don't realize that it's been like kids that were born after 9/11 were still alive when wrestling was nothing but a sexist nightmare to women. Like, so for people to not understand how important that was and try to like excuse it and write it off as like, oh, well, it's just heel heat, you're completely disregarding the importance of representation for women and the fact that it just forever proves that they don't care about their female audience, that it's not important to them.
Yeah, I think that's the most bothersome part, is the fact that they don't understand why people are upset. Like, people are genuinely upset about how this transpired, and to sort of, they don't understand it. They are completely unaware and oblivious to why the outrage exists. It's not just outrage for outrage's sake. It's outrage because there has been a pattern for so long of how things have operated, and to then see some progress taking place and then really just sort of backhand it like inexcusably, that's where it sets in. And on SmackDown, no less. Like, this is supposed to be the good show. This is supposed to be the show that people look at and
right,
go,
and that's what was even like just so mind-boggling to me, is that SmackDown, especially with the women's roster, they use their entire women's roster every week. Mm-hmm. Whether it's, just having one of them talk or doing matches with multiple women or what have you, like, they utilize their women's roster. So for them to, announce this big match where they're going to have like all of them perform at some point, and then to just take it away like that was it was so disheartening. Like, it was one of those things where like you feel like a parent whose kid, lied about doing their homework. Like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. And I watched it, and like when I watched James Ellsworth climb the ladder, I was like, please tell me you're not doing this. Please tell me they're not doing this. Oh no, they're doing this. This is how it ends. And like, you just feel, I could feel the color like drain out of my face. It's just like, I can't believe, but I can. And that's the thing that's I think what's even worse. It's not that I can't believe it. It's that I absolutely can believe it. I can absolutely believe that Vince McMahon was watching that, sitting in his office, laughing his ass off, thinking this is the funniest thing in the world, being completely oblivious to the fact that he just took a huge part of his fan base and disappointed them. And this isn't disappointment like, oh, I wanted my guy to win and this person won instead. It wasn't the way that I felt where I was like, oh man, I really wanted AJ to win Money in the Bank and they gave it to stupid Baron Corbin, man. Like, it wasn't a bummer like that. It was a bummer of like, you legitimately do not care about this fan base or what this means or what this represents, and you have no idea the context of what you just did. Like, none whatsoever. Like, you look at these historic firsts for wrestling and how important it is, not only to female fans that are, that grew up through kind of the problematic years. I'm one of the few people that I will openly talk with all my wrestling friends, say, I hate the Attitude Era. You're like, what do you mean? It was the best time. I was like, yeah, for you, for guys, it was terrible to be a girl wrestling fan. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it hasn't really aged well.
Yeah, no, not at all. Like, I go back and I watch it and I look at some of my favorite wrestlers because, all girls have their favorite wrestlers, but it's similar like when you're playing a video game and it's like, I love playing Street Fighter, why is the only female character in Street Fighter half naked? What the hell, man? Like, Chun-Li's awesome, don't get me wrong, but, like, why doesn't she get pants? I don't understand. So, like, it was just such a bummer for, you know, people my age and older who lived through that, to see this progress, to understand this progress, and then have it taken away. But now you have to think about, like, think about the Izzies of the world and the girls that are growing up with the women's revolution, who this is all they know is strong women. What message did you just send them? You just told them that no matter how good you are, how strong you are, how much you fight, how much you push, a dude's going to take it from you. And maybe it's a great learning lesson for all of them to prepare them for the real world.
Yeah,
but this is supposed to be entertainment. This is supposed to be the separation from real life. For all of
I know,
and now, ugh.
And you know, here's where the bummer really settles for me is that, like, and I think you hit the nail on the head, is that you're surprised, but you're not surprised. So, like, we hoped that we had turned a corner, and then when it doesn't, like then we're just disappointed that we didn't. Like, we thought we had all moved on, and we were on the up and up, and then this happens, and we go, no. No, I like you're just let down because we thought we were better than that, and in the end,
yeah, exactly. And it just makes you think too, like, well, if they're so quick to do that, then how far away are we from it immediately turning back into what it was? Like, this is in no offense to Lana at all. I think that she's great. I love her character. I love the way that it fits. But I had kind of a visceral reaction the first time I saw her come out in the long blue gown, because I went, that looks like every single wrestler from, you know, like 1995 to 2004. And that frightens me, because it's like, how long until that's what they all look like again? And that's upsetting. And it's not, because I don't think that it'll ever go back to that. I don't. But when you watch something like that happen, that was my immediate thought, is like, all right, so when do they put Becky Lynch in a ball gown? Like, when is this happening? Because clearly we're all about taking steps backward if this is what they think is going to work. So I don't know, for all of our sake, I hope something happens on Tuesday. You know, because I'm the stupid mark that I am, I'm gonna watch it no matter how pissed I am. So
don't do it. Don't do it. Take the power back and don't do. Let me just ask you one more thing before I let you go, because I know you're short on time here.
Yeah.
Because you know, the wrestling community and wrestling fans, their voices have for so long been dominated by it's dudes. It's dudes all the time. Angry dudes, frustrated dudes who won't shut up. It's dudes. Have you talked to other female wrestling fans who and what were their reaction to this? I guess to sort of once again amplify it and speak power to sort of how other female fans also responded and felt this creative decision.
The overwhelming majority are very much of the same belief of, we're very disappointed, but we're not surprised that this is what happened. Like, we almost at this point have this blanket acceptance that they're going to screw over the women's division in some way, shape, or form. And it's very depressing that we've all gotten to that level of complacency where it's like, we have to take that in order to enjoy the sport, because otherwise, if I was as outraged about how they treat women in wrestling as I am the way that I see, like, the way that they treat women in film, I would probably never watch wrestling. But there's this weird understanding where everyone, because we know what goes on behind the scenes, because we know the kind of people the McMahons are, that there's this really gross acceptance of, like, yeah, it's not going to be what we want. It's going to be super problematic, but we're going to watch it anyway because it's something we enjoy, and they're trying. It's progress somewhat, but there's going to be some bumps. And I just think this was a very, very big bump this time around. And I hope they can come back from it. And the problem is, you know, as much as I want to say I'm done, I'm boycotting, I don't need this. I know that for every girl that turns off the TV, that's just another reason for them to keep doing what they're doing and keep pushing male stories. We need women to continue watching and to continue making their voices heard. And, you know, as bad as it sounds, you have to fight with your dollars, because if we all pull out and stop watching it, they're just going to replace us with a bunch of 12-year-old boys. So if we continue watching but continue making our voices heard, that's when change is going to happen. Because if we're continuing to pay, then they have to appease us. But if we stop paying, they'll just replace us. That's how it works.
You're far more optimistic than I am, and you know what? I'm far more powerful. See, I just flip the table and walk away. But you are look, be loud, be vocal, be pissed off, and fight. That's how change happens. Excellent.
Yep, absolutely.
Look, hey, on the up and up. Look, before I let you go, I want to give you the chance. Go ahead and get your plugs in, because I want people to make sure they're aware of what you're doing, and once again, tune in to a prominent female voice in terms of wrestling. So please plug away.
Sure thing. So you can follow me on social media on both Instagram, on Twitter. It's just my name, BJ Colangelo, Colangelo. I'm also a filmmaker. I'm currently co-directing a film called Powerbomb. You may have seen some of the Indiegogo stuff that went around, but we are currently halfway through done with production. Powerbomb is the story of an independent wrestler who's about to break into big time, but he's contemplating leaving it all behind so that he could raise a family with his wife, who's a retired wrestler, and their son. But his number one fan hears that he's going to quit the business and decides to take matters into his own hands to prove to him why he needs to stay in the ring. If you like misery and you like wrestling, you're going to love this movie. The film stars Matt Cross. There's also featured performances by Gregory Iron, Dick Justice, Alex Daniels, and Derek Direction, as well as Britt Baker. And then the other co-star is Ronnie Jonah. Ronnie Jonah is an actress, but she's also a former OVW wrestler. She's the Miz's first LA, which is kind of awesome. So it's a movie for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, but it's got the heart of a thriller anyone can enjoy. You can find all of that on sickeningpictures.com, or I mass post it all the time on social media, but it's one definitely to check into. It's not a documentary. It is a theatrical feature. So when it comes out, it's going to be something that all of you wrestling fans are going to love. Matt Cross is just as talented as an actor as he is a wrestler, and I think you're all going to love it.
BJ, thank you very much. It has been a pleasure. Thank you for taking this time out, and look, keep fighting.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's hope Tuesday's a better one than Sunday.
Fingers crossed.
Thanks for having me.
Look, I really want to try to bring myself to talk about the rest of the Money in the Bank pay-per-view special event, whatever. But it's really difficult. As I sort of mentioned earlier, everything that happened after the women's Money in the Bank match, which opened the show, was just underneath the cloud of the James Ellsworth finish. You know, following the women's Money in the Bank match, there was a match between the New Day and the Usos for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship that I could not care less about, because I was so infuriated by the women's Money in the Bank match, just so perturbed by what I had just seen. My mind still trying to wrap itself around the creative decision to have James Ellsworth climb the ladder and put the briefcase in Carmella's hands, that whatever happened between the Uso brothers and the New Day is a blur to me. I know what happened at the end. I know the New Day scored a count-out victory and the Usos retained the championship, but what happened throughout the match? No idea. None of it registered. Not one bit. I couldn't tell you anything that happened in this match, because it was just moving pictures in front of my eyes that I had no connection whatsoever to. And that is really the problem with the overall Money in the Bank card is that I have never seen, I mean, I won't say never because there probably was at some point in the distant past, but I cannot recall vividly a time when a card on paper that looked somewhat promising completely and willfully just shit the bed as the Money in the Bank card did. New Day versus the Usos, count out, whatever. A blur. I tried to get myself back into things during Naomi versus Lana for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Now, look, Naomi has been a pretty steady champion as far as I'm concerned. She's entertaining. I've seen her in house shows now as well, and the crowd really responds to her. And look, it's a good thing for her. You know, let's face it, Naomi should have been a women's champion a long time ago, if not for the fact that her face essentially got broken and her opportunity was snatched from her while she recovered from injury. Otherwise, she would have been on that champion pedestal a while back. So, look, I like seeing this for Naomi because she's earned it. You know, she's worked very hard to be at that level, and she's earned it. And, you know, the more they put into her as champion, the more it means for her as far as being an established women's main eventer. And look, Lana is... This is going to be an experiment because she's never wrestled before. So to put her into a sort of a championship match right out of the gate, you know, who knows what we were going to get. So look, I tried to get myself into this match. I like Naomi. I'm curious about Lana. I tried to get myself into this match. Now, who knew? Who knew that Lana would turn into a work the body part type of ring technician? She's like Arn Anderson out there. Just working the leg? Like old school ring psychology. I mean, granted, she's still a work in progress, but it was refreshing to see just someone just keep working the leg. Work the leg, take the leg out, make that a part of the match. I'm all for it. And right as I'm trying to get back into the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, right as I'm trying to sort of build some goodwill once again with the WWE, who comes down to ringside but Carmella with James Ellsworth and the Money in the Bank briefcase? Way to go, guys. Way to double down on reminding me of the horribly infuriating creative decision that you have made not but 2 matches ago. So how am I supposed to forgive and forget and move on? How am I supposed to do that when you keep putting it in my face? I would have liked to try to work with you, WWE, as you progress through the night, but you're making it really difficult by trotting out the very thing that everyone hated about the evening and continues to hate to this very day, to this very moment, and beyond. Because we can't erase it. It happened. No matter what they do in the future to try and make up for it, this still transpired. And by bringing it out again to try and make some sort of storyline progress from it, doesn't help me, doesn't help other viewers. It just reminds us that we were pissed off not but 20 minutes ago. And now we're freshly pissed off again. So good job, if that's what you were going for. But I get the feeling it wasn't. So now, right smack in the middle of the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, once again, I'm mentally checked out. trying to still figure out how they thought the finish to the women's Money in the Bank match was a good idea. How they missed why people would find that to be problematic. And so here I am now, once again, bothered, irritated, angry, upset, frustrated, which is not what SmackDown or the WWE should want their audience to do while they're or to feel like when they're watching a pay-per-view card. If I didn't have to podcast about it, if I didn't have to discuss it on this particular show, I may have easily have turned it off and just said, I'll go watch something else. HBO's got some pretty good programming on a Sunday night. Maybe I'll catch up on my shows there or something else. Because they're not hooking me as an audience member. If anything, they're pushing me away. So now, as we move right into the middle of the card, I'm watching because I have to. No longer because I want to. Not a good place to have your audience mentally as you're moving through these shows. So then you move on to your WWE Championship match. Jinder Mahal, who I'm a big fan of, and we've defended on this podcast, versus Randy Orton in his hometown of St. Louis. So what? And I like Jinder Mahal. But once again, not a lot to this to try and pull me back into the mix. Because as this match is happening and feeling sort of the same as the Backlash match, which Jinder Mahal won and captured the WWE Championship, as I'm watching this sort of feel samey, once again, nothing to really attract me, pull me in. My mind still on the women's Money in the Bank match. So once again, Orton beats up the Singh brothers for like 15 minutes. Gets hit with one move and Jinder Mahal retains. And it is what it is. And we keep on moving. Breezango faces the Ascension in a match that just sort of happens. And I like the Ascension. I love the Ascension. I wish there was more for the Ascension. Dating back to me digging the Ascension back when they were in NXT, I feel like they've been so misused and damaged. And I love the Ascension. And I love Breezango. I love Tyler Breeze. I love what Fandango is doing right now. I love them together as the Fashion Police. So 4 guys entering the ring for a match that is unannounced, but maybe has a chance to bring me in because I like the participants. And the match just sort of goes by. I'm not even really considering what's happening in the ring because I can't stop thinking about the horribleness of the women. One bad decision can torpedo an entire show. And especially if it's the first thing that happens, then everything that follows is DOA. There is very little that could have happened on this show that would have gotten me to forget about what happened in the women's Money in the Bank match. Now, granted, I'll give them some credit. In the main event, there was one thing that got me to forget about life for a while here. that did manage to just grab hold of my shirt and yank and say, this is amazing. And I agreed. And I'll get to that in just a minute. But look, let this be a lesson to anybody out there who considers themselves a storyteller or a creative type. If you make a horrible decision in your song or your movie or your TV show or your wrestling match or your whatever story it is that you're trying to tell, if you make a horrible decision that the audience cannot forgive or forget early on, it's over for your project. It's over. Because you will never get them back. And they lost nearly everyone at the Money in the Bank match because of the first match and the decisions that they chose to make. And nothing that happened up until possibly some stuff in the main event, nothing was able to pull anyone's mind away from what happened there. Nothing. And that's a disgrace. That's an embarrassment. That is a total misread. And as professionals, they should be better than that. Now look, I mean, let's get into the main event, okay? You have Money in the Bank again, 6 participants here. Baron Corbin, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Dolph Ziggler. Once again, like I said, going in on paper, this Money in the Bank pay-per-view seemed promising because not only did you have this match, which had a real interesting mix of competitors, but some people who could really put on a show. Owens, Zayn, Styles, Nakamura, even Ziggler can put on really entertaining and emotionally investing wrestling matches. And while Baron Corbin may not necessarily be on their skill level, that's not why he's in this match. He's not there to do what they do. They're there to bring that element to the match. He's there to bring something else to the table. And when it comes to Baron Corbin as a heel, I think he is really coming into his own. So you have 6 guys with the capacity to put on a hell of a show for this match. And look, this is a very good match. And I will say that I did get into this match. This is one match that was able to sort of suck me in. And look, it starts with Shinsuke Nakamura being attacked during his entrance by Baron Corbin, which was a bummer to me because I love Nakamura. And I would have liked to see him work more in this match. But I understand sort of the creative that they're going for, which is, to have him make the triumphant return later in the match. And there's some sick spots in this match, too. Particularly between Styles and Owens. And the match really does come together pretty well. And it's easy to sort of be mesmerized by the spectacle of it. And when Nakamura does make his return and sort of just Kinshasas everyone, sort of getting over the devastation of that move, that's a big deal. And then look, there's one sequence, one sort of collection of moments that got me, even as a fan, to pop hard on my couch watching this. And that is sort of the Nakamura-Styles showdown. Let's not forget, not too long ago, these guys were headlining Wrestle Kingdom in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and here they are on a prominent stage in the WWE, prepared to take that dream match again, but put it on a bigger global stage. New Japan Pro Wrestling, Wrestle Kingdom, that's a huge deal. But to do it at a WWE event, and if they're able to sort of do what they did, or given the time and space to do what they did the first time around, would be amazing. So to sort of see them come together in the center of the ring to do battle, with the Money in the Bank hanging in the balance, that is a very cool thing. That is a very cool thing. Does it make up for the horribleness of the women's Money in the Bank match? Absolutely not. But still a very cool thing. Granted, neither of those guys win. Baron Corbin gets the briefcase. He is the Money in the Bank winner. He is the one who now has a contract for a title shot sometime in the future. I think it's a great move. I think it's a good idea. It allows Baron Corbin to sort of move up in the card and give you another main event possibility in your hand if you're SmackDown. But that being said, it's hard to get super excited about the idea of Baron Corbin demolishing somebody with the End of Days to win the WWE Championship at some point down the line, when this match will be overshadowed by the poor decision of the women's Money in the Bank finish. You're never going to be able to escape that. You can't do it again. You don't get a do-over. You can't erase it. For the first ever historic women's Money in the Bank match to have James Ellsworth climb that ladder will forever be in the history books. And look, I'm so glad I was able to have BJ Colangelo come on to the show and talk about this from a women's perspective to just further cement why this was a horrible decision, why it matters to the fan base, why it matters to women wrestling fans who make up a good portion of wrestling audiences. You know, dudes are probably the most vocal, but there is a good segment of the WWE Universe that is female. And young women and girls who are growing up in wrestling right now, when female wrestling, when women's wrestling is treated as legitimate and not the joke the sideshow that it once was, they really blew a tremendous opportunity. And they are going to have to work doubly hard to try and repair the damage that they have inflicted upon themselves after making up so much ground in recent history. And it sucks that this is where we're at. It is incredibly disappointing as a wrestling fan, period, who enjoys women's wrestling and seeing it treated respectfully. It is a bummer, and I'm really bummed about how this all went down at Money in the Bank. And I don't know where they go from here. I don't know how they try to fix this. I understand what they were going for, but it was executed so poorly that they have dug themselves in a deep hole, and they are going to have to really, really throw themselves at the mercy of the court in order to move on from this in a positive way. Because right now, they really shit the bed. And I think that's about all I really have to say at this point anymore on this year's Money in the Bank. So, look, let's switch gears. Let's maybe talk about a little bit of wrestling that'll put a smile on our face, get us enthused about what goes on between the ropes, shall we? And it is now, of course, time for the Tom Nix portion of the show. That's right, our resident wrestling guru, our expert-in-chief, Tom Nix is here to discuss this week's homework. Tom, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well, Billy. How about yourself?
Well, it is funny. I'm doing all right. Look, Money in the Bank is in the books, so and strangely, we still have more ladder matches to talk about. A holdover from last week's show. We're going to talk once again more New Japan Pro Wrestling and now more ladder matches. So it's like a happy marriage all across the boards of all the things that we seem to love right now. So I'm all for it.
Absolutely. We have a theme. We're sticking to it.
Or something like that. Coincidence, whatever. So look, this week...
We planned it this way, Billy.
Yeah, we did.
Planned it this way.
Technically, we did. We did sort of lay it out to sort of feed off of one another. So it wasn't just random matches thrown into the middle of the abyss. So technically... I will pat us both on the back for our genius ability to foresee this.
Super genius.
So look, this week's assignment, I hope you managed to catch up on it. This match took place last year, 2016, at the New Japan Pro Wrestling Dominion event. It was the first ladder match in New Japan Pro Wrestling history, and I believe still the only ladder match in New Japan.
They have not done one since. I mean, it's only been a year, but no, they have not done another ladder match yet. Japan is very, very hesitant and reluctant to do American-style gimmicks. So it's pretty much exclusively, two men fighting each other or a tag team match, and that's pretty much about it. So,
you mean we will not be getting the October New Japan Pro Wrestling pay-per-view Hell in a Cell anytime soon?
Not that I'm aware of, but hey, you know what? If Kenny Omega becomes champion, I think he's going to bring back the 3 Stages of Hell match.
Oh, no. I can foresee it already. New Japan Pro Wrestling is March's pay-per-view will be Laddermania. Because that's how it works. No, I mean, look, it is, in that way, it's good. It protects the match, and it makes the match meaningful when they do decide to bring it up, as opposed to some other people who just wedge matches into the gimmick. So once again, Kenny Omega is front and center here as part of this week's homework assignment, and as part of this show, actually, by proxy of this homework assignment. So this would be Kenny Omega versus Michael Elgin at Dominion 2016 in the first ladder match ever in New Japan Pro Wrestling history. So before we get into the match a little bit, Tom, can you, lay some of the groundwork for how this match happened? Because originally it was not supposed to be Kenny Omega versus Michael Elgin. There was sort of some storyline shenanigans going on to get Elgin into this match.
Yes, so originally it was supposed to be Kenny Omega versus Hiroshi Tanahashi, who at the time was kind of coming off one of his biggest losses against Okada at the Wrestle Kingdom of that year, Wrestle Kingdom 10. And kind of found himself shifting down the mid-card or shifting down to the mid-card. Now, one of the things about New Japan Pro Wrestling is that thanks to Shinsuke Nakamura, their Intercontinental title is essentially exactly the same amount of prestigious as the world title. So if you're the IC champ, you're not going to be fighting Stardust in the opening match. Like, you're going to be one of the 2 main events, and it's going to be top tier talent. So this was supposed to be Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Kenny Omega. This was definitely Kenny Omega in his full heel mode. We talked about that last week, where Kenny is technically the heel in these matches with Okada, but he doesn't really do anything insanely heelish. And you could be confused as to mistaking it for being a face-face match. That's not the case with 2016 Omega. who is a dirty scoundrel. Essentially, Bullet Club took out Tanahashi because he had a real life, I want to say it's an arm injury, might have been a shoulder. I forget exactly what it was, but he got injured before the match could take place. So Bullet Club took him out of it, and Elgin and Tanahashi had become kind of like best buds. Like, they were tagging together in the tag matches they were booked in, and they just kind of were, you know, becoming best friends in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So Michael Elgin subbed in for Hiroshi Tanahashi to essentially, like, defend his friend's honor, get revenge on Bullet Club for beating him up, and also to take away the thing that Kenny Omega cherished most, the Intercontinental title.
And look, here's right out of the gate, I'm going to tell you right now that ladder matches make me anxious. Okay, one, I have a slight fear of heights. Even climbing a ladder feels too high. 6 foot ladder, too high. Human beings are not meant to be that far off the ground. 6 feet in the air. And I think it's only gotten worse watching ladder matches, too. Because when you see guys ascending the ladder, especially for offensive moves, it is, and you watch that ladder sort of teeter, and it's not really stable because nobody's ever holding it for them. It makes me a little bit weak in the knees. I enjoy ladder matches tremendously, but I do find that they make me anxious watching guys get up in the air that high in order to deliver punishment. And the other thing that I particularly zeroed in on, especially watching this Omega Elgin match, is the ladder is probably one of the perfect sort of effects, or gives off the perfect effects needed to convey impact and damage during a match of this nature. Because the second you hear someone land on a ladder, crash through a ladder, slam into a ladder, just that metal on metal grinding just sort of makes you just like, you can feel it. You know what I mean? Like, you can feel it in your bones, in your muscles, like what this other person has to be going to. Because let's face it, there is no training that teaches you how to land on a ladder. There's just not. Or at least none that I've ever heard of. So right out the gate, ladder matches make me anxious. And this match got off to a fantastic start. I'm going to tell you right now. Spoiler alert, I really enjoy this match. But right from the get-go, this match had me. Hold on a second.
You said you really didn't enjoy this match?
No, I really did. No, I really did dig.
It's a good match.
It is a very good match. I mean, look, ladder matches are tough because they've now been sort of done to death, that it becomes difficult to innovate in them and give audiences things that they haven't seen before, without it sort of feeling like a formulaic ladder match. I mean, how many times can a guy climb the ladder as slowly as possible to let the other guy back in the match? At times. But here's where this match captured me almost immediately. And I meant to sort of bring this up last week when we did like our full-blown New Japan Pro Wrestling episode, is that
marking out like beasts for that one.
Look, I absolutely love you. You want to hear a mark out? I'm going to give you a mark out right now. I absolutely love New Japan Pro Wrestling referees. Okay?
Aren't they awesome?
New Japan Pro referees.
Red Shoe doesn't fuck around.
They don't give a shit. They do not care. They will not be tricked. They will not be fooled. They are there to enforce the rules, to count 3 counts. They're not there as pawns, okay? They do not mess around. And so right out of the gate here, okay, you have Kenny Omega and come down to the ring with Bullet Club compadres, okay? And they immediately leave the ringside area, and we are left to believe that this is going to be a fair one-on-one contest. Aha! Until the referee not to be outsmarted by anyone in New Japan Pro Wrestling, decides, I don't trust Kenny Omega. And
what a strange concept. Yeah. I don't trust the guy who comes to the ring with 4 dudes.
That's right. And decides, I'm going to check under the ring for more associates, and catches the Young Bucks red-handed. The Young Bucks are wrestling Schrodinger's cat. They are simultaneously under and not under every ring in the world. But it was such a nice touch, because usually the referee, especially stateside, okay? Once again, we're going stateside.
Stupid. They're supposed to get knocked out easily.
Yes.
They're literally there to count the 3 and do nothing else, essentially.
I mean,
so
they're
supposed to be quick.
Yeah,
but not in New Japan, baby. They're part of the action. They've been doing this for 40 years. They know exactly what your game is, brother.
I mean, look, in the United States, the referee is there to sort of be seen and not heard, not to get involved unless the storyline and calls for them to be involved. It's very touch and go, but ultimately the idea is also to not damage the credibility of the referee. You want the referee to still seem legitimate, but they're willing to really stretch that a number of ways to how buffoonish the referee can possibly be at times. Here, it is going to be very difficult for you to do things behind the referee's back, because these New Japan Pro Wrestling referees, they're onto you. All right, they're onto you. They've been around the block. They've seen some things, okay, and they will not be fooled. So right out of the gate, having the referee check under the ring and catch the Young Bucks red-handed and ejecting them from ringside, I was in stitches, dude. I laughed out loud watching this, because it was such a nice touch. Because now first of all, the crowd is into it, okay? Because now you immediately reveal the heel tendencies of the heel, and you blow up their plan. The master plan is blown up. So now the babyface looks better, because now people think this is on the level. The referee looks great, and the heel looks like a cheating son of a bitch. So everybody wins. So right out of the gate, I was like, all right, let's go. Right out of the gate. All it took was something so simple, but really, really intelligent.
Man, I'm telling you, man, basically, if you, I know you told us last week that your son started watching New Japan with you with the Okada Omega 2 match and really loved it. Honestly, dude, if you have a New Japan Pro subscription, just go back and watch every Dominion and every Wrestle Kingdom for the last couple years with him, and he will love it. I mean, you can fast forward through some of the tag matches, because that's a New Japan staple. It's just, hey, we throw a bunch of people in a tag match together, and they do have storyline consequences, but they're not that interesting. But if you watch the last 3 matches on any of those cards, Dominion or Wrestle Kingdom, you will love them. Your son will love them. They're just those are the 2 shows that are must-see TV when it comes to New Japan. So this we're keeping the streak alive with doing another Dominion match. That's a great onboarding for your son. He'll love them.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's just fun. This one had a different feel to it than some of the other New Japan matches, because it did.
Sure. It's the first American match they've ever done.
Yes.
I mean, this like you said, there's dudes hanging out under the ring.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, interference happens.
Yeah.
That's not a thing that happens in New Japan Pro Wrestling. It happens occasionally because, there are heels and the heels act a certain way, but having a big match blown by interference or have interference at all is extremely rare, and they will only book it if it absolutely makes storyline sense or like logistical sense, like, hey, we can't have this person go over because he's going to have surgery, but we don't want him to lose, you know, that kind of stuff. It doesn't happen. So like when it does, it has a reason. But like I said, this is the most, probably the most American style wrestling match they've ever put on.
Yeah, because there are times like it's sort of cartoonish at times, but you know, it works. It works for this. And you know, if this was every New Japan Pro Wrestling match, you'd be like, oh God, like what have I gotten myself into?
Right, correct.
But it works here. And you know, so watching this match, you know, I really enjoyed it. And this is sort of one of the matches that now, you know, I said Kenny Omega was sort of growing on me. It's funny because going back in time to watch this match on top of the other two matches, the two Okada matches, this was one that really sort of won me over even more with Kenny Omega. And I'm going to tell you why. He sells his ass off in this match.
He does. Yes, he does.
I mean, he like Michael Elgin is not like he's not making the match. Okay, he's not a seller. He's there to like deliver some punishment and look strong. He's not there to sell punishment. Kenny Omega makes Michael Elgin look like $1,000,000 in this match because he sells everything as being excruciatingly painful. And you get into it as a result because, yeah, you want to see this cheating scoundrel get his ass kicked. And he's filling the role. He's doing what a heel in this situation needs to do. So this was one of those matches that really sort of won Kenny Omega favor with me because the amount of selling he does and how well he does it to make everything look meaningful and good, really sort of started pulling at me in his corner, like, oh, Kenny Omega.
Like we said last week, he's not for everybody.
Yeah,
but he is unassailably great at wrestling.
He is an acquired taste.
You might not like how he does it or the style in which he does it, but he is great at it.
He is a guy that over time, like he may or may not be for you, but I think the more you watch him, you can at least appreciate what he does. You may say it's just not for me, but it's like when I watch like Wes Anderson movies. They're not for me, but I can understand why other people may like them. So
that's a great example because Wes Anderson, I think, is objectively a good filmmaker.
Yeah.
Like he makes good decisions, and the films he makes are clearly exactly what he wanted to make.
Yes.
The style of them and how, you know, their tone and their delivery and how he directs them 100% might not be for you, but you can be like, no, that guy made exactly what he wanted to do, and he's objectively good at his job. Yeah, I just don't like what he was doing.
Yeah, it's very well made. I can see why somebody else may like it, just not for me. Kenny Omega, I think, is very similar. Except I'm starting to grow. He's still growing. The fungus is reaching out. It's like a swamp thing. I'm becoming a Kenny Omega swamp thing. It's probably like up around the waist. That's where Kenny Omega is right now. And so, yeah. You know, so watching this match, you know, he makes this match really come across really well. Now, look, I'm going to add one nitpick, okay, before we get sort of into the how the match sort of turns out and the chaos that ensues. The one nitpick I will add, and this has come from several of the New Japan pro wrestling matches that I watched, is just don't use tables. Don't use tables anymore. They bring out like these itty bitty baby tables.
The New Japan tables are not gimmicked like WWE tables are. They're like shoot tables.
Yeah, they're like itty bitty tables. They're not like full blown like fold out tables. They're like the tiniest tables possible. So like even here, like I think they put two of them together. And like that makes one table because one by itself it's just the tiniest. It's like a baby table.
And they're definitely weird tables. Like if you're used to seeing the WWE style, like Office Depot tables.
Yeah, like a real table.
Yeah, that you would see in conventions and all that kind of stuff. Like these are skinny, weird-looking tables that are very clearly much like they're not like I'm trying to think of the word of what those tables are made out of, but they're like the WWE tables are like powder, basically like powder coated in fake wood. Like the tables in New Japan Pro Wrestling are like legit oak tables.
Yeah, they're like backbreakers, man.
Yeah,
they're like backbreakers, and they never break. They will sink, but they will never break. And on top of that, like I look at them and I go, oh, "What is the purpose of this table? You can't really put anything on it. No one could eat it. This thing, like, who made these tables this small, and why are they under?"
Well, you got to remember, Billy. Japanese people are very tiny.
It's a cultural thing. I understand, but I'm just saying. Number one, they don't break, and as a result, it makes me feel worse than when they hit the ladder. Because they hit the ladder, I'm like, all right, the ladder made that sound, and it makes me feel bad. But at least I know the ladder's got like some give to it, maybe.
Well, yeah, this is it's kind of like going back to last week again, where like hitting a ladder sounds like getting, sounds like a thigh slap. Like it's that loud sound that you're accustomed to hearing, and it hurts, but you also know that it's it's not as bad as it sounds. And then you get the table, and it's just this thudding crack. And you're like, oh god,
that's all it is.
That's not good.
Yeah, it's like imagine like running into the wall, like, and what that would sound like. That's what it sounds like, because the wall's not going anywhere, and neither are these goddamn tables. So maybe just ease up on the table spots, because they don't look spectacular and they make me feel bad. So just no more table spots. But other than that. We sort of talk about the Americanization of this match, and once the Bullet Club comes down to the ring, like it's like full blown Americana right there. You have interference, you have run-ins. The odds are stacked against Michael Elgin, with the Bullet Club coming in and sort of foiling his very clean attempt to capture the championship, and then the Young Bucks come down with spray of some sort of powder, hair spray, aerosol, something. Spray it in his eyes, super kick party, of course. And then the handcuffs came out. And I was like, oh man, this is it's starting to lose me a little bit. At this point, it's starting to lose me a little bit. Okay, it's starting to lose me because I've seen this done before, and it's very unsatisfying. Even though it's meant to get the heel over, it's still very unsatisfying. And you have people coming to the ring, and they're trying to help Michael Elgin, and the Bullet Club is fighting them all off, and there's more super kicks, and the Young Bucks are fighting everybody, and it looks like this is going to be Kenny Omega's win. He's going to retain the title by hook or by crook.
That's right.
And then something really cool happens.
Oh, tell us about it, Billy. What happens?
Michael Elgin breaks the handcuffs free from the corner.
He's like, you cannot harm me. Don't you know who the fuck I am? I'm a juggernaut, motherfucker.
It is so cool because, look, number one, the handcuffs go all the way back towards the Big Boss Man era, watching guys get handcuffed and beaten with nightsticks in the ring. And so you automatically sort of have that association of handcuffs are out, shit's going bad, this dude's in trouble, all hope is lost. And, we've sort of seen that more over the years. Triple H started using handcuffs. Lots of people start using handcuffs. It's all a ripoff of the Big Boss Man to begin with. But
like all of wrestling is, let's be honest.
Yeah, they're all rips off of the Big Boss Man.
Everything. True progenitor of modern day pro wrestling.
That's right.
Mr. Everyday Big Boss Man.
That's right. It all goes back to the late great Big Boss Man. Wasn't
he in the first Hell in a Cell?
He was in that awful one with the dogs.
thought that was the first one. Was Shawn Michaels the first one?
Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker were the first
Okay.
ones. So, yeah.
Never mind. Sorry.
That's right.
I didn't mean to. Yeah, I'm projecting the Big Boss Man's influence.
Let's not go back to that awful.
Wasn't he in the first Money in the Bank? No, never.
Let's not go back to that awful kennel match, which if you go back a few episodes, Brandon Stroud will tell you all about how he saw that in attendance live and the horror that was. So there's a quick plug for
so sorry, Brandon Stroud,
for a podcast from the past. But yeah, so there's a finality that goes with wielding handcuffs. The second the handcuffs come out, you're like, oh shit, this is the end. But so when Michael Elgin breaks free of these chains, number one, the look on Kenny Omega's face of what's about to go down is priceless. But the fact that they have subverted your own expectations that this is over by him breaking free with his own strength of these handcuffs is pretty amazing. And I'm going to tell you, I thought this was over. I saw the writing on the wall. All right, he's handcuffed. The Young Bucks are there. They're fighting off anybody coming to save the day. Oh, Jesus, it feels like a Triple H title defense from many years ago. And when he broke free from the handcuffs, the fan in me rose up. Yeah!
I know, right? You just feel so good for the babyface.
That's right.
Like, oh, he's gonna do it. Oh, he did it. Screw those guys.
That's right. And he takes out Kenny Omega and he climbs up the ladder. And after a fumble, which I'll forgive, finally retrieves the title. But it once again, as we cannot say this enough. When wrestling is good, it's so good.
So good.
It's so good. And when it grabs hold of your emotions, not even a matter of it just being a surprise. When it takes you on the ride and gives you something that's different, or that if it gets your ass out of the seat, man, it did it right. And this match, even with some of the things that you can sort of nitpick on and go, nah, I didn't really like that, the end result wipes it all away. It wipes those things away. It's so easy to forgive, like the Young Bucks taking out everyone, or like this stupid aerosol spray. Like the whole thing, like it devolves into chaos, and you go, oh God, I've seen this before, or whatever. But the second he breaks those handcuffs, it was like that never happened. I was like, yes, he's going to do it. And at this point, I'm a Kenny Omega fan during this match, but I didn't care. So yeah, this is a really solid match. It's really fun. Like, that's the thing. It's a really fun match to watch, and you can't help yourself but to get lost in it. And this one I'll give 42 stars to, since we're establishing our own observer ratings. But no, this Kenny Omega versus Michael Elgin at Dominion 2016 in the first ladder match in New Japan Pro Wrestling history is incredibly fun. It is very entertaining. There are some very nice wrinkles to it that make it overall enjoyable. And I can't recommend this match enough. This is look, it's not going to blow you away, but you'll get into it, and that's what we want.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, this match does not hold a candle to the matches we talked about last week, because those are almost lightning in a bottle moments of just pure wrestling greatness. But this match is good. It tells a fantastic story. Yes, it has some meh in it, but overall, it's a fun match with a good story that's told well with two really great competitors, and you'll have a good time. It's fun. So
yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So if get that New Japan, the NJPW World subscription out, and if you haven't seen it before, or if you have, see it again. Kenny Omega, Michael Elgin, Dominion 2016. It's a good one. And if you haven't seen it before, then shame on you. You're late on your homework. God damn it. So
why would you even listen to this if you hadn't done the homework?
Yeah,
that's just You're just calling yourself out at this point, listeners.
Yeah, I'm just look, I hope so. Then as a result, I hope you enjoyed it with us. So with that said, Tom, what is our homework assignment for next week?
Okay, so because we're going to keep going on this thread, and I just thought of this, although I'm going to pretend that it was the plan all along. we're gonna chain our wrestlers together. So we had Katsuyori Shibata versus Okada. Then we had Okada versus Omega. Then we had Omega versus Elgin. So now I'm going to have you guys go back to, I want to say it's the February pay-per-view of this year. I forget the name of it. I think it's New Beginning in Osaka. I think that's correct. We're going to do Michael Elgin versus Tetsuya Naito for the Intercontinental Championship. And oh boy, you guys are in for a treat because this match is ridiculous.
All right, so there you go. Elgin, Naito, more New Japan. So for anybody who was getting on me about, hey, you said we're going to do more New Japan, we're giving you almost more New Japan than you can probably handle. But I think it's important to challenge people. So as a result, we're throwing you in the deep end of the pool. It's New Japan all the time, nonstop. Or
yes,
at least for now.
And okay, you know what? I'll do another. Well, so I can't really tell you.
Don't give me Harley.
No,
Race
I won't
Dusty
give you any
Rhodes
more.
Again.
We'll stick with this one, and I promise that after these couple weeks, we will settle down with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Although I'm gonna be seeing them this weekend, and the G1's coming up. So guys, I might be New Japan Pro Wrestling all over your faces all summer. We'll see what happens.
It's all right. It's all right. Look, I got scared. I thought you were going to give me more Harley Race Dusty Rhodes, and that would have been a bummer. But look, I'll ride the New Japan wave with you, man. Let's hang 10 on this bad boy.
It's fun to get people who have only seen bits and pieces of it to like really dig into it and watch it, because while I said, there's a lot of boring stuff because they're like. Unlike Raw and the WWE that has like the weekly shows and multiple weekly shows, New Japan only really does like 5 or 6 shows a month normally, maybe not even that much. And anything that's not a pay-per-view is generally all tag team matches, all of it. It's all 6 to 8 to 10 man tag team matches, which gets repetitive and boring if it's the whole card. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely parts of New Japan Pro Wrestling that are cultural that you just, Americans just aren't going to love as much as people who have grown up with it. But when those pay-per-views happen, the wrestling they put on is better than anything in the world, and the stories they tell are better than anything in the world. So I really love it when people who are familiar but not so familiar with them really start digging in, because it is just a treasure trove of greatness in that company.
Hey, I'm coming along for the ride. Everybody with their homework assignment, you're coming too. So buckle up. Tom's got the keys. It's New Japan for miles and miles and miles. So look, make sure you follow him on Twitter at Tom Nix. Tom, do your song.
TheTomNix. That's me.
Our resident wrestling guru, the expert-in-chief, Tom Nix. Always a pleasure, my friend. It's all New Japan for as far as I can see.
Forever and forever. Big boss man forever.
I can't believe it all came back to him. All right, so there's your assignment. Elgin Naito from earlier this year in New Japan. Look it up. I don't have the specifics, so look, this is part of homework. Do the research. But hopefully you'll enjoy it. We'll be back next week with Tom to talk about it more. So Tom, always a pleasure, man. We'll be back next week with your assignment.
See you next time.
And the best way to keep seeing us or hearing us is to do a couple of things. Subscribe, rate, and comment wherever it is most convenient for you to grab your podcast. That's where Intelligent Wrestling Conversation is available. So iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, Blueberry, SoundCloud, you name it, we're there. So all you got to do, click that little subscribe button so every single episode is hand-delivered to your mobile device. You never, ever have to miss an episode. of intelligent wrestling conversations. So just do that. Also, rate the show. Give us 5 stars for our 5-star effort. It would be greatly appreciated. All you got to do, there's stars there. Click all 5 of them. Bing, 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 bing. I think that was 5. Just do it, and I'll have your firstborn. I actually, that's not true. I can't do that, but I'll be very thankful if you'd rate us and give us those 5 stars. And look, comment, give us some feedback as to what you like about the show, and tell other people why it is they should listen to the IWC podcast. So subscribe, rate, comment, do those 3 things, and I will be greatly appreciative of you putting forth just that tiny bit of effort on our behalf. Also, look, make sure you follow us on Twitter at the Tom Nix. You know his Twitter handle. Mine at Infamous Kid, Kidd, 2 D's at the end, Infamous Kid. So follow me there on Twitter for my stream of consciousness in 140 characters or less. And follow the IWC show. That is the official Twitter handle of Intelligent Wrestling Conversation. So at the IWC show. That'll let you know when a brand new episode is dropped in your subscription. So follow us there as well. And look, we'll be back next week talking more wrestling. Talking more New Japan Pro Wrestling, apparently. So make sure you get that homework done. And hopefully moving on from the Money in the Bank debacle into something a little bit more uplifting and positive in the world of professional wrestling. So I want to thank my guests, BJ Colangelo, of course, Tom Nix. I have been your host, Billy Donnelly. This has been Intelligent Wrestling Conversation. See you back here next week. Have yourself a pleasant, immediate future. I'm out for now. Peace. Intelligent Wrestling Conversation has been a podcast presentation of This Is Infamous.